Keep pushing that boulder to the top of the hill. Welcome one and all to Suckville.
Hope, help, and healing? Yes, please. I'm your host, Silva Florence, a professional healer, writer, cyclist, and American expat living in Italy. And this is Live from Suckville. A defeat via the snooze button, a victory over the coffee maker. Tuesday, February 10th, 2015 began like any other day. In the kitchen of Janet's cabin, a snowball's throw from Searle Pass on the east side of the Vail Pass recreation area near Copper Mountain in Colorado. My husband, now ex-husband, Tyler, read the avalanche forecast to our friends and frequent ski partners Marcus and Ann. There was low avalanche danger below timberline and moderate at and above, Tyler read, and triggering a persistent slab avalanche was possible on northwest to east aspects. So, for any of you non-backcountry skier types out there, a slab avalanche is basically when a large cohesive area of snow loosens and then slides as kind of one unit. And these slabs can be triggered when there's a weaker layer underneath. Usually the weight causes the release of the avalanche, either the weight of the skier or the weight of more snow. And they're persistent because these types of slabs don't go away and they keep causing avalanches. Okay, now back to the story. Delayed by a prolonged sojourn in the wood-fired sauna, it really was a sucky place to stay. Afternoon found us a quarter mile southeast of Janet's cabin, partway up Jock Ridge, near 11,000 feet. Above timberline, we dispersed through terrain with small, stunted crumholts, many lacking uphill branches, denoting the area's intimacy with avalanches. And crumholts are basically like small, stunted trees which exist in a high elevation. But there were no signs of recent avalanche activity, and nobody gave these auspicious twigs a second glance. When we reached the northwest-facing slope, over which we'd been ogling on the topographic map, we assembled left of the slope to formulate a plan. A rocky ridge plunged down the slope's sternum, essentially halving it. The plan was that Marcus would ski right to the rock ridge about 200 feet away. Tyler, after watching Ann and I descend on the left, would do the same. And this is for safety. This is to try and mitigate triggering an avalanche. Marcus zipped across and yelled something incoherent. Tyler departed to check on him via a safer far right route. Simultaneously, Ann descended. She fell, quickly stood, and sharply turned right. I kept eyes on her, ducking in and dodging a steep rollover to my right. The snow felt softer and faceted, unlike the hard slab on the approach. Then, to my left, it broke in a straight, angry line. I darted right, hopeful to escape the churning mass of snow. Disbelief splashed across my mind. Am I in an avalanche? The form of someone watching me from the rocks blurred as the right side of the slope ripped out and knocked me down. Snow covered my chest and churned over my head as fear replaced disbelief. My left ski hit something, and I kicked into it, fighting to remain at the avalanche's right flank. Below, a large grove of trees quickly approached. Now I'm reading to you guys from an article that I published in Backcountry magazine later in 2015 about this experience of being caught in an avalanche after successfully skiing in the backcountry for over 8 years and not having had an incident. And honestly, most people who go in the backcountry know that at some point it can happen, no matter what protocols you take, and we took them all. But we got a little bit complacent as we were heading home. We were thinking more about being home than getting there safely, unfortunately. So why Why am I reading to you all from a magazine article that I wrote about something that happened almost 10 years ago? Good question. And there are actually a couple of answers. First of all, because on Wednesday evening this week, I spoke in a live interview on Holistic Radio UK. And if you're interested in listening, the recording will be on my website. And anyways, the host was a woman named Dolly. She asked me all sorts of questions about my life, and speaking with her made me realize her enthusiasm and excitement about my answers and the experiences that I've had made me realize that I should spend more time also sharing my own stories with all of you. Like this moment when I got caught in an avalanche. And I remember obviously feeling very afraid, especially after I got knocked down and then had no control whatsoever about where I was going, and fortunately was able to kick off what I think was a rock and push myself a bit more to the right, because the article goes on to say that the left side of the avalanche, actually, which is where I started, actually finished in a pretty dense stand of trees. It didn't carry me that far, maybe 300 feet, and it couldn't have lasted more than a couple of minutes. But I remember very clearly feeling fear, feeling disbelief, feeling fear, and then feeling this strange sense of surrender. Like, okay, I'm in an avalanche. The one thing I can do is push off that rock, and there's really nothing else I can do. So this is the situation. And just having this strange floating sensation, which was obviously physical, but was also the fact that I was allowing myself, I decided in those seconds, those strange seconds, to surrender to what was going on. And strangely enough, when I find myself in situations in my life in which I'm fighting, I'm forcing, I'm pushing, and I want to go a certain direction, but there's really nothing to be done at the moment, I remember the feeling I had in that avalanche of complete and utter surrender. And I tap back into it, and it helps me to not accept, because it's different than accepting, but to actively surrender. And I say actively surrender because I believe that it's a choice, surrendering. It's not giving up. It's not submitting. It's a conscious and patient letting go. It's saying, instead of fighting with this, I'm going to go with this, or I'm going to work with this. I think a lot of the times when we think about surrendering, morally we start to get a little offended because we think, no, it should be a certain way. This should be fair. This should be just. But the truth is, sometimes it's just not. Or sometimes justice works on a larger, wider, grander scale that we can't really understand. And I'm telling you all of this because surrendering is a really big part of healing. Whether you need healing in a physical sense, a mental sense, an emotional sense, whether there's simply a situation or a relationship that needs healing, in order to create space for healing and the opportunity for healing, we have to surrender to the situation. Because when you actually do manage to surrender and to choose to say, let's see, let's wait, to say sometimes I can't do this alone. Surrendering to the fact that we are not islands and we need other people in order to get through what we're trying to get through, or to make happen what we would like to see happen. When we decide to actively surrender in this way, in a sense, we remove our ego from it. We start to remove limits from it. We start to create a bigger, wider playing field in which to heal these things in ways that we may not even imagine when we're struggling and forcing and pushing for things to go in a certain direction. But part of why surrendering is so difficult is because it means, in a sense, choosing to dive into or be embraced by uncertainty. Because we have this notion that when we are fighting and pushing and struggling, that we have the control. And when we decide to surrender, it's like we're giving up all the control. But really, did we have so much to begin with? And would it be so bad if we could learn to really lean into the discomfort and the uncertainty? If we learn to be okay with that, think about how much easier, in a sense, our lives might be. When I decided to surrender to the inevitable avalanche as it was still happening, it's not like my fear went away. Not at all. But what would have happened if I decided to keep fighting against an avalanche? It would have just been a waste of my physical and mental energy, right? And so, I let it carry me where I needed to go. And actually, it made my departure from Colorado after my divorce that much easier, because after the avalanche, I never quite looked at the backcountry and backcountry skiing the same. As much as I tried, I never could shake the unsettling feeling that I was going to be trapped in another avalanche. And in a weird way, that helped me, because backcountry skiing was one of my very favorite things to do in Colorado for the 11 years that I lived there. And the fact that I didn't quite love it so very much made it easier for me to untether myself. And that's the other thing about surrendering. When we're able to, we never know what's going to happen. That's the uncertainty part. But it could actually be something strangely helpful, or just plain helpful. A lot of the time we say, I don't want to do that because, something bad could happen. Something good could happen too. So what I would like to do now is move into an activity, an exercise to help you to really lean into the uncertainty of surrendering and to try out actively surrendering. So I want to first invite you to get comfortable. If you are driving, please do not do this while you are driving, because it's going to involve closing your eyes. If you are driving, listening while driving, or while exercising, you can think of it as a thought experiment, or you can come back to it later. And otherwise, I invite you to get settled. If you need to pause this because you are someone who likes to meditate lying down, go ahead and do that. Grab a blanket, whatever you need to do to make yourselves as comfortable as possible. Now, as I said, close your eyes. Start to take some big, deep breaths. And just imagine that these breaths are coming from the base of your feet and moving all the way up to the top of your head, and then all the way back down your chest, your stomach, your pelvis, your thighs, knees, calves, and back out of your feet. Like these big, purifying waves of breath. Now, start to imagine that you are in a wooden cabin. There's a fire in the corner crackling away, a light, pleasant smell of wood smoke. It's cozy and warm. You have a blanket on your lap. You can look around. What else can you see in this little cabin of yours in the woods? In front of you is a sturdy oak table. You place your hands on it. The surface is very smooth. It's a beautiful old table. And you see on top of the table, there is a puzzle, but it's not put together. There's a big pile of puzzle pieces in front of you on the table. I invite you to take up your first puzzle piece. Feel its shape, feel its texture. And as you observe this first puzzle piece, I want you to bring into your mind a physical, emotional, mental situation, problem, or a relationship that needs healing. So I'll give you a moment now to really bring this situation into the front of your mind. Also, any emotions that come up when you start to think about the situation. I want you to have a clear picture as possible of what the situation is in which you need healing. Now look down again at the puzzle piece in your hand, and I want you to assign this puzzle piece an emotion that you are feeling that is connected with this problem or situation. And when you feel like you have done so, you can place that puzzle piece to your left and pick up another puzzle piece from the pile, noticing again its shape, its color, if it has a texture. And go ahead and assign this puzzle piece an emotion as well, and continue to do so until you have assigned each emotion surrounding your situation to a puzzle piece and place it to your left. Now, with your next puzzle piece, take it in your hand, and I want you to assign it a worry that you have about the situation that you find yourself in. Once you have done so, place it to your left and pick up another puzzle piece from the pile and continue to do so until you have assigned each of your worries to a puzzle piece and placed it to your left. Now I want you to take up another puzzle piece, and this time think about a resource or a solution that you need to help you with your situation. For example, it could be a caring doctor, a bit of unexpected money, the caring presence of loved ones. Whatever comes to your mind now, assign it to a puzzle piece and then place it to your left. Now gather up the puzzle pieces on which you have assigned your worries, emotions, and solutions. And I want you to look at them all in your hand, to hold the situation with loving kindness, and say out loud or in your mind, I surrender. I surrender. I surrender. Watch as magically the puzzle pieces that were your emotions and worries melt away and disappear, leaving only the solutions and resources. I invite you to pick up 2 more puzzle pieces randomly from the pile, which will be miracles or unexpected resources that will come your way. Now imagine that these puzzle pieces are coming together. One by one, they find their places. And before you, there is an image, a color, even just a feeling. Take time now to observe it and see what it might be telling you. Once again, now you see that the puzzle pieces are coming apart, the image dissipating before your eyes. You might have the desire to pick them up and try to put them back together again, to recreate the picture, or to create a picture of your choosing. But instead, place all of the puzzle pieces down on the table and let them go. Take a deep breath. Tense up your entire body, as tense as you can possibly get it, with all of those worries and anxieties and stresses regarding the situation. And let it all go. Relax your body and surrender into all that is and all that can be. I surrender. I surrender. I surrender. Now get up from the table. Walk over to the door without looking back, trusting that the next steps and the path will be clear. Open the door of the cabin and exit the cabin into the night, into the forest. The ground underneath your feet is soft, supportive, welcoming. You don't feel afraid walking into the darkness. Rather, you feel a light and hopeful excitement and curiosity about what might be around the next bend, and about the wonderful people and experiences that will come into your life because you are open to them. And the challenges and the difficulties that will come your way to teach you lessons and to prepare you for even higher levels of evolution and growth, for the good of not only yourself, but of all living things. Now you can start to slowly wiggle your fingers, your toes, becoming aware of the surface of the bed or the chair underneath you, of a breeze or your clothing on your skin, the sounds of the external world welcoming you back to your life. Take a big full body stretch and a big deep breath in and out. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. As always, I recommend that you write down or draw whatever you have seen or experienced during this guided meditation. Any wisdom or help that came to you that might help you out in the coming days, weeks, months, or even years. Now that you have embarked on this new path in your life with active surrender and hope. And as always, I thank you so much for being here with me and for taking this exploration with me. And just for one last little kick of inspiration, let's say I'm going to leave you with a beautiful quote that I found and put on my Instagram profile because I loved it so much, from Eckhart Tolle. Always say yes to the present moment. What could be more futile, more insane, than to create inner resistance to what already is? Surrender to what is. Say yes to life and see how life suddenly starts working for you rather than against you. Make sure you don't miss an episode and stay updated on upcoming events by following me on Instagram at SwitchPath. That's SWITCHPATH on Instagram. Upcoming events include 2 pay-as-you-can group healing sessions on Friday, April 5th at 7:15 CET and April 14th at 7:30 p.m. CET. And there are still spots available for both events. Also coming up, a series of 4 workshops designed to help you slow down your life and reconnect with nature by working with each of the 4 elements. Contact me for more details. This episode was recorded in my kitchen and produced by yours truly. And last but not least, thanks to Chris Kirby for the amazing theme music and to all my guests and listeners. Until next time.